Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is Dr. Matthew Levitt. He's the director of the Reinhard Program on Counterterrorism and Intelligence at the Washington Institute. Dr. Levitt, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
I'm really grateful to get your perspective here as a counterterrorism expert because concerns over potential terror threats to the United States, both at home and abroad, have intensified as the war in Iran rages on. President Trump was recently asked in an interview with Time if Americans should be worried about Iran retaliating with attacks on U.S. soil, and he said, "I guess." He also added this in part, quote, "We expect some things. Like I said, some people will die." After hearing that, from your perspective, how dangerous of a situation are we in? What are some of those things that the government is expecting to happen?
Look, this is a heightened security environment. There's no sugarcoating that. But it's also the case that FBI and DHS and other federal, state, and local agencies have been preparing for moments like these for a very long time. It's not like all of a sudden we wake up and we've got something to do. So on the one hand, if there were ever a time where Iran on its own or through its proxies, terrorist proxies, criminal proxies, there are several Iranian murder for hire plots that have been thwarted. One is on trial in New York right now. If there's ever a time that they were going to pull out the stops and try and do something, now would be it, right? The United States and Israel are conducting airstrikes against the regime and all of its centers of power. They've killed the supreme leader and a whole bunch of other senior Iranian government officials. To the extent that Iran wants to increase the costs to the United States of continuing to prosecute this war by creating domestic pressure perhaps on the president, one tool might be carrying out domestic terrorist attacks. And so we're concerned about those. We're also concerned about Iranian officials for some time now, again, not new, trying to inspire people, radicalize people, much as Al-Qaeda or ISIS has done on the Sunni extremist side of the equation, here on the Shia extremist side of the equation, radicalizing people to want to do things on their own. And while it's too early to know for sure, authorities are concerned that maybe the shooting we had several days ago in Austin, Texas might have been something like that. The individual was wearing a t-shirt with the flag of Iran under a sweatshirt that said something about Islam, and they're looking into that. Heightened threat, but not reason to be hysterical.
I know more information about that Austin shooting is coming out, but do you think that that's more of a lone wolf attack, or is that more of a network?
In all likelihood, this is going to be a lone wolf or lone offender operation. We won't know more until the details come out. It's possible it was foreign directed, meaning someone operating on their own, someone encouraging them or directing them. It's more likely someone saw what was going on and got very angry. Remember, the supreme leader of Iran was leading a terrorist state. He also was the religious leader, the marja, the source of emulation for some Shia around the world. Not the majority of Shia, but he was for some. And there were people who will be angry about that. At the bottom line is this. We've known for a long time that in the event that the United States and Iran went to war, the likelihood of a terrorist attack would increase significantly. We know this, for example, because of a Lebanese Hezbollah terrorist operative. Lebanese Hezbollah is Iran's primary proxy, who was convicted in New York on terrorism charges years ago. And around 2016, 2017, before he was convicted, he spoke to the FBI and told them about all the surveillance he'd done in New York City and elsewhere and pre-operational planning, and described himself as a sleeper cell. I don't really like the term, it's too Hollywood, but it's how he described himself. And the FBI said to him, "So under what circumstances do you think you might be called upon to act on that pre-operational surveillance?" And he said, "Well, maybe this, maybe that, but definitely if the United States and Iran ever went to war." So we've known for some time that this was kind of a red line, and if it were to happen, we'd have to be prepared. It's not like the war caught us off guard, and so authorities had the opportunity to put things in place to be prepared. There's no such thing as a 100% guarantee of preventing attacks. Counterterrorism officials have to get it right every time. The bad guys have to get it right once. But the good news is authorities really know what they're doing in this space.
I know you said that the term sleeper cell to you is too Hollywood, but there have been concerns that sleeper cells could be activated since this war broke out. What do you make of that? Because can you first explain what people mean when they use the term sleeper cell, and what term would you use if you don't like it?
Look, to me, the term sleeper cell is just too Hollywood. It implies someone who was sent to the United States under deep cover for the express purpose of carrying out attack at some point in the distant future, something like the Americans in the Russia context, but for terrorist purposes. And in the real world, there are terrorist operatives who've been sent to different places, including to the United States, but they tend to be sent here to make money, to provide support, to procure and send dual use items, but they are then also here to be called upon should the terrorist group or the state sponsor, in the case of Iran, want there to be an attack. It doesn't mean that they're highly trained ninjas. More often than not, they're bumbling idiots. But it does mean that they're here, and it does mean that they could succeed. It's very easy to procure a gun in this country. We have a very open society. If a teenager can very easily carry out a shooting in a school, which we've seen over and over, unfortunately can happen, then a terrorist, really committed to doing something similar could probably also succeed, except that they tend to have ties to other terrorists here or abroad, and authorities are able to follow their finances, their communication, their travel patterns, their associates, and more often than not, have some sense of who's doing what before they start trying to carry something out. Not every time, but counterterrorism authorities have got pretty good at what they do in the 20 something years